So I probably should have talked about this movie here way sooner than I did now. This is a movie that I go back and I visit all the time. And people ask me a lot, like even on Facebook and sometimes even on here, they say, "What is your go to hood movie?" And I say the same thing every single time: Menace II Society. But you know what? The more I go back and watch that film, I realize something. This movie could possibly qualify as a horror movie because there are definitely some scary characters in this film. So let's go ahead and talk about one of my favorite films of all time. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about Menace II Society. Growing up in the gang lifestyle of LA, Kane wants a way out, but pretty much all of his friends, especially O Dog, is too trapped in their lives of crime and violence. He does get some help from other characters in this film, to try and go down a better route to a better lifestyle. But there's a series of tragic events that make this very difficult for Kane, maybe even impossible. In fact, our opening scene is a murder that his friend O Dog commits at a liquor store. Now, although aside from just being there hanging out with O Dog pretty much, the aftermath of this situation here, it follows Kane throughout the entire runtime of this film. Kane is a young man growing up in the ghetto of Watts, raised by a drug using mom and a drug dealing dad, who he saw kill someone at a young age. Although he did graduate high school, as it says like kind of earlier on in the film, he also grew up to be a drug dealer himself, mostly selling the drugs. To be fair, it kind of seemed like he had a good heart in the early going, but that hood life just kind of took over him, more and more. He also has a lot of friends that are encouraging him to give into the hood life. So Kane is kind of a hard character to explain until we get more into the spoiler territory. Ronnie is Purnell's ex-girlfriend who got hooked up with a little bit of money and a house by Purnell before he was sent off to prison. Now, she is completely against that hood life. But what I find a little interesting is like she's against that hood life, but she's now messed with two guys that are about that hood life. Now, I mean, she's a pretty decent mother, aside from the fact that she doesn't have no job. I mean, she is going to school, I'm assuming because it says in one of the scenes that she's studying. So I'm assuming she goes to school, but she doesn't work. Which is why Kane is like constantly stopping over the house and like trying to give her money, which she turns down. Like he puts some money in her bathroom drawer and she finds it and she rejects it. Just kind of, throws it on the floor and kicks it. So I don't know. Maybe the kid ends up finding it or something. Who knows? But, my theory with Ronnie is, maybe she keeps going after these hood boys because maybe she thinks she can change them with power of love. I don't know. I mean, she's not really a bad character, but I don't know if she makes the smartest decisions with men either. That's about really all I can say about Ronnie, other than she's not about that hood life. So I guess my description of her is good girl, makes some really stupid choices when it comes to men. I feel like the character of Kane describes O Dog the best. The craziest fool alive. Young, black, and doesn't give a fuck. He will murder anybody for any reason. He even states in the film that he will kill kids and old folks. I mean, I guess you can say at least he loves his mama. We found at the beginning. The only other time he shows a bit of softer side is at the conclusion of the film. But even then, it doesn't last long. This is easily the scariest character in the entire film. Sharice is a former thug and a reborn Muslim. He still hangs out with the same crew from his thug days, though he is trying to get his life together, trying to get his friends to follow in his footsteps, which, to no surprise, does not work out. I guess to an extent, though, he does kind of reach Kane. Chauncey is one of the thugs that Kane, Sharif, and O-Dog hang out with. Most of his time is spent kind of lounging around, and it's usually the rest of the group, the rest of the gang, that does all the work. Now, he buys the robbery tape off of O-Dog, the robbery tape from the beginning of the movie, which I don't know if I went too much into detail earlier or not, but I will here in a little bit. The crew spends most of this movie like just dissing him. It almost seems like they don't really even like him. He also tries to sexually harass Ronnie after she rejects him. He plays a very important role near the conclusion of this movie. Purnell is a friend of Kane. Purnell actually kind of looked out for Kane when he was a small boy. We see this at the very beginning of the film. Purnell is now serving a sentence in prison for a long time. I don't think it ever says how long. And he's also the father of Ronnie's child. Kane is pretty much left to care for the child, although that's kind of Kane's own choice. It's pretty much all gun violence, but in this movie, if you get shot by anyone, they pretty much gonna make sure you gonna die. Well, I guess except for an early scene where Kane gets shot in the shoulder. I mean, that's really the only situation I can think of in this movie where, like, if somebody coming at you with a gun, you just gonna die. That's the only exception I can make, is when Kane gets shot in the shoulder in the early going and he lives. I think I totaled the kill count at 9. Yeah, I think it was 9 kills is what I totaled it at, with most of the fatalities belonging to O-Dog. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. O-Dog could be a horror character because this dude is scary as hell. What more can I say? Everyone in this movie was on their game in this department here, especially O-Dog and Kane. Lorenz Tate and Tyron Turner. They straight up snapped in this movie as far as the good acting. Awesome. But I also got to throw some love to Jada Pinkett Smith, Bill Duke, Samuel L. Jackson, MC8, Clifton Powell, Charles S. Dutton, and, you know, even for the brief scenes, kind of even got to throw some love in there for Too Short. Oh, and also to the actor that played Sharif. I think his name is Vontae Sweet. You know, there's not a bad performance in this film at all. I love the acting in this film from everybody. And usually when I get in this category, I always save the MVP actor of the film for the conclusion of my reviews. But I'm going to go ahead and make my choice right now. Now, it came down to 2 characters. It came down to Lorenz Tate's character O-Dog and Tyron Turner's character of Kane. But if I have to pick an MVP in this film, as far as performance and acting, you guys, I got to give this one to Lorenz Tate as O-Dog. So now we get to the problem with Kane. Although he does consider a life of change, Kane engages in robberies and the sale of drugs. He actually robs a guy for his gold rims and his jewelry. And this guy he does this to did nothing wrong. He was literally just pulling up into the drive-thru to get some food. He was minding his own business. And this scene right here in this movie made me hate Kane up until the very end. Maybe this kind of stuff came from learning from his father, or maybe it came from hanging around old dog so much. I don't know. There's no excuse in my opinion. He also has some female issues. He got a woman pregnant and abandoned her from being in denial that the child is his. Or maybe it's because when he finds out, he's pretty much dating Ronnie at this point. Despite moments where he tries to lead the thug life, such as getting his high school diploma or planning to move to Atlanta with Ronnie. He's often pressured by O-Dog mostly not to leave the game. By the conclusion, Kane is planning to leave, but unfortunately a situation where he beats up the girl he got pregnant's cousin. When the cousin taunts him in Kane's own neighborhood, this situation ends up catching up with Kane in the end. And Kane is killed off at the end of the film, although he does die protecting Ronnie and Purnell's son. This movie teaches a valuable lesson that bad choices can cost you everything, even if you have plans to change. O-Dog is mean to pretty much everyone he comes across. An example, he yells and shoves a guy who was just trying to clean his friend's car windshield. He also cusses out a guy at the beginning for asking if he had any change. Now I get it, that can be annoying, but I don't know, he could have just kind of walked away from that. Now I'll admit the store owner incident, like when the store owners that he kills at the beginning, they were kind of following O-Dog around and being rude in the store. But I'm not going to say that's a good reason to take your gun out and shoot the store owner because he made a comment about feeling sorry about O-Dog's mom. I don't think it should have went to murder. I think if anything, he should have just tore off and whooped his ass. I think that would have been a better solution. And then he even shoots the wife because she won't stop screaming. And this is after he makes her go to the back and get the videotape, the footage. That way the cops can't come after him. Hell, O-Dog even robs the guy. After he shoots him, he opens up the cash register and then he kicks the guy because there was only $6 in there. And then he searches around his pockets and stuff and gets more cash. And then he even taunts him one more time before he walks away. And then, of course, the beer that he came in to get originally, he takes that with him after the murder. He was like, I'm still going to take my drink. I mean, I guess you might as well at that point. You already committed the murder. What really pisses me off about that tape scene, though, is he takes that robbery tape and he sells it to Chauncey for $60. No remorse at all. He also left Kane's cousin to die in the streets. I mean, it wasn't just him. He had AWAX and I think Stacy were also in the car. They just kind of left Kane's cousin Harold to die. And he's like, there ain't no room in here. We got to get Kane. We'll have to do this shit another time. And Sharif actually stays back with with Kane's cousin that's dying. So, I mean, Sharif showed more remorse than the entire group in that scene. And then O-Dog saying, we got to do this later. I don't know whether they did or not. I mean, who knows? The only other time Harold is mentioned is when we get to the revenge scene. there's a revenge scene where they go after the guys that killed Harold. And this right here has to take me to another reason why Old Dog is so scary. You know, he's given a shotgun to handle the situation, and he legit just blasts one of the guys right in the head. And you see blood like just splatter all over. They're at like an outdoor, like, I can't really call it a food court. It's like like almost like an outdoor restaurant, and the blood just splatters all over the cashier's window. And he threatens to kill the cashier too if she doesn't stop screaming. Now, luckily, he does not kill her. She stops screaming. So thank God for that. You know, I'm glad he didn't kill her at least. And in another scene, he offers Ronnie's 5-year-old son some liquor when he says, "Let me have a drink." But luckily, Kane and Sharif stop this from happening. He's also kind of disrespectful to the women that are at that party. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we get another scene in here where he shoots and kills a crackhead who makes a disgusting ass comment about pleasuring Old Dog in exchange for some drugs. So after Old Dog shoots and kills this guy, he kicks the man and takes his hamburger and asks if anyone outside wants the hamburger. Not gonna lie to y'all, that was kind of a funny scene when he said that. This even annoys one of his thug friends, AWAX. He even gets annoyed by this. Now the tape selling is what really cost him near the end of this movie, because Chauncey sends the tape to the cops after Kane whoops his ass at a party. And this is what takes us to the final scene of Kane and Ronnie about to leave for Atlanta. Now, Old Dog survives this shoot-off as he fights back with his own gun. That's the scene where I give him some credit. He is heartbroken when both Kane and Sharif are killed. In fact, I think he cries a little bit even. He also tried to protect them as he was fighting back. Other than when Kane got shot at the beginning, I mean, I guess there was kind of a little bit of a sadness shown there too. But this is the only time we see a softer side of Old Dog in the entire film. In the end, he's caught by the police. Old Dog is by far one of, if not the craziest characters in a hood movie ever. So now I think it's just time for us to get to the final score of this movie. Actually, before I get to my final score, there's two other situations in this film that I wanted to bring up on why Old Dog is so scary. So the scene I was talking about where Old Dog was given the shotgun, there's a scene before they go find Harold's killers where he actually points the gun toward all his friends like AWAX and Kane and all them, and they just like straight up freak out about it, and Old Dog just looks at him as like, "Y'all scared like some bitches." And the other scene is when Kane beats up the girl that he slept with, when he beats up the cousin. You know, Kane's grandfather comes outside and sees this, and Old Dog acts like he's breaking up the fight. And then the minute that Kane's grandpa gets Kane into the house, Old Dog just straight up stomps the dude in the face full force. So I just thought that was two more situations that I needed to mention before I get into the final score of this film. All right, y'all. So now it's time to get my final thoughts on this film. I already explained how the acting in this film is top notch. I think, you know, the story is excellent. The like the kind of the final message of the movie, I think all that, everything I think is like top notch. I might even go as far as saying this is probably like the closest thing I've seen to a perfect movie. And even the soundtrack is dope, y'all. I mean, the soundtrack is banging. MC8 actually provides a track on here too, straight up Menace, and I think that might be my favorite song off the entire soundtrack. So if it's not quite obvious, I love this film. This is easily in my top 5 favorite films of all time. I love it. I go back and watch this movie all the time with my friends, with my wife. You know, I used to watch this movie with my father quite a bit. And rest in peace to my dad. I really loved watching this movie with him. So I guess with all that being said, I just got to give this movie a final score. And I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Menace II Society is an excellent movie. And I know I gave away some spoilers in this review, but truthfully, y'all, even if you haven't seen this movie and you watch my review, I don't even care. You need to see it for yourself. This is one of those films. I'm giving this movie a perfect 5 out of 5. That is my review of the movie Menace II Society, and also some like key points of the movie that I just wanted to share with you guys too, and why this could even be considered a horror movie in my opinion. But these are my final thoughts. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, go ahead and click that like button, and please feel free to subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. Oh, and on that note too, I think I'm gonna go have a hamburger.